Thank you very much for being with us. The last rebels to leave Douma admit it was the chemical attack that made them surrender. The World Health Organization says that the attack on Saturday resulted in some 500 people seeking medical help for exposure to a toxic substance. This Thursday, the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights says Jaish al-Islam gave up their heavy weapons. They were holding out against a Russian brokered deal that saw other rebel groups bust out of eastern Ghouta and into northern Syria. Joël Bassoul is in Beirut, joining us now, Care Communications Director for the Syria crisis. Joël, thank you very much for being with us. Tell us about the humanitarian situation that we're looking at now. And let's begin with this chemical attack and the contamination that may have been left because of that.
The situation in Ghouta now is completely out of control for humanitarian organizations. We were working there for many years with local partners, trying to deliver aid to civilians in need. Now we have stopped delivering aid because we cannot get access to civilians. In addition to the alleged chemical attack, the civilian population had been facing a siege for years, with very little aid trickling in when and where possible. So since February, when the government of Syria launched the latest offensive, people were being bombed daily, were not getting enough food and clean water, and were in desperate need. Now they are being shuttled across the country to different places. They are going places they do not necessarily have people they know. They are in need of help. And again, we are facing a humanitarian situation, which we saw some time ago in Aleppo and now in Ghouta, where people are just being sent to Idlib in the north of Syria without any help.
And these places in Idlib have been described as little more than prisons. That's one of the sad things that's emerging from people who've been sent there. Staying with Eastern Ghouta, you mentioned the constant bombardment and the shortage of supplies, food, water, medical supplies. And we've seen Russian images of people seemingly celebrating and looking like they're getting the things that they need. Not many people, but one or two. Do you think the situation is actually changing now that the Russians and the Syrians are in charge?
We do not have direct information from Ghouta today because we are not present there. What I can tell you is that before the region was taken again by the government, people were facing very dire shortages for a long time. We were talking to families who were surviving on a bit of bread on a daily basis because they had no other food to eat. So now that the area is back under the control of the government, what we are calling for as a humanitarian organization is access to people in need. There are many people still left inside Eastern Ghouta. About 1/3 of the population has left the area, but many people are left inside. Even today, I spoke to someone who's in Eastern Ghouta who doesn't know if he is supposed to leave with his family or not. So people are still in there, and we are calling for access to these civilians to be able to deliver the aid they need.
Those people you've been speaking to, Joel, they must be in a terrible state. I mean, scared, hungry, thirsty?
Yes, of course. People who are left inside Eastern Ghouta do not know what future they face because now the situation has changed militarily on the ground and they do not know what will happen to them. People who have left Eastern Ghouta are facing a similar situation. I spoke to two people who we were in touch with for a long time in the besieged area. They are now in Idlib and they are very distressed. They have been displaced without anything from home, just barely their clothes. They are in an area where there is no jobs, no food, no shelter, and they don't know what to do next. So we are facing a situation where civilians left in the area and those who have left the area are basically in need of help.
Joël Bassoul, we hope to hear from you if and when you gain access to Eastern Ghouta, and maybe even go with you to see what you can find there, because clearly, as you say, there is much help needed in that place. Joël Bassoul from Care Communications, Director for the Syria crisis for that organisation. Thank you very much for joining us from Beirut.